Now, if you watch this channel for a long time, you probably know about what swatting is, or getting swatted, whatever the fuck you want to call it. It's a quote-unquote prank. I don't know how they consider this a prank. But yeah, someone calls the police to your house. They call the cops in your local area, and they usually pretend to be you, and they just make some bullshit up, and then the cops show up, and you're like, what the fuck? This is a prank. I never even called you guys. And it's just really, really scary in general. And if you've watched me for a while, you know that it's happened more than fucking once. And it got to the point where I was like, you know what? If it happens again, I'm not going to make a video about it. And sure enough, it happened again. But this time was so much different than the others. So it all started as a normal night. It was right before I left for LA, and I was just streaming, having a nice, fun little stream, just going for a couple hours, playing some CSGO. And it was really, really fun. I was having a great time, right? And it got towards the end of the stream, and I was ending the stream, and I thought up to this point it had been a really successful, fun stream. Like, no one called fucking pizza to my house, because that's the one thing that has happened a lot when I'm streaming, is people calling fucking pizzas to my goddamn house. I don't even know why. People just order, like, large Papa John's to my house, and I'm like, okay, well, fuck, you just wasted that pizza guy's time. But anyway, I fucking end the stream, right? And all of a sudden my brother yells down at me, he's like, get up here, something's going on, and I was like, okay. What the fuck's about to happen? Am I about to open the door and go upstairs, and there's going to be like 40 people surrounding my house, and pizzas everywhere, and drowning in pepperoni, like, you know what I mean? Just like something really fucked up, like someone called a bunch of stuff to my house. And I go upstairs, and I see 3 or 4 cops, I think it was 4, standing like by my front door, like in my house, standing at my front door with assault rifles. Now, obviously, upon seeing this, I shit my pants a little bit, because anyone probably would in a situation like this. It's just really, really scary. But they were like just kind of looking at me. But then one of like the head guys, I think like the chief or some shit, was like, yeah, I had a feeling. And he like looked at me, and I was like, had a feeling. I was kind of confused at first. And he was like, when we were leaving, when we got the call, we were getting ready to send everyone over here and, you know, like react to this a lot differently. But then last minute, I remembered your address from the last time, and, you know, told everyone that this is probably just a prank call. And that's why we only sent a few officers over here and not everybody. And I was like, thank you. Like, thank you. I was like, thank you so much. And he's like, yeah, of course. He's like, yeah, so what's going on? You just do streaming and stuff? And I was like, yeah, streaming, YouTube stuff. And he's like, how's your brother doing? And I was like, you know my brother? He's like, yeah, we went to school together. And I was like, oh, sweet. And we just kind of talked about that. And then they mentioned the prank call, like the dude that called the whole bullshit call in and made them come to my house in the first place. And I guess this random internet troll, this dick, called them and pretended to be my brother, one of my brothers that doesn't even live with me, like he lives across the country. And he said that he was like keeping me hostage and shit, and, you know, just to send everyone over. And they didn't fall for it, thank fuck, because it was just way too obvious that it was bullshit. And the dude probably called with a voice changer because he's a random internet troll and doesn't want to get caught. And yeah, they came and nothing happened. They were just really, really cool. It was only 4 of them. They all were really, really nice. They knew it was a prank. They knew it was some dumb internet troll. And basically, the guy that did call this in, the troll, if he happens to be watching this video right now, man, well, first of all, suck my dick. You're a pussy. But second of all, why didn't you just call a bunch of pizza to my house that night? Like, you could have called like 80 different pizza places and called them to my house, and it would have been 10 times more annoying because I'd have to deal with like 80 pizza delivery guys coming up being like, all right, that'll be $20.99. Like, you know, that's really fucking annoying. But I'm just kind of joking around. Obviously, no one would want that to happen to them unless you really have like a severe pizza addiction. But moving on, after this happened, I ended up going to LA like a week or 2 later. And in LA, I thought it happened again. I was at this Airbnb, just laying in my bed, sick as fuck. I got sick out in California. And all of a sudden, I hear like a really, really loud noise. And I see a giant beam of light flash over my window. And I thought it was lightning. And I was like, holy shit, a thunderstorm. And I was like, wait a minute. There's no fucking rain in LA. What? And the light keeps going like back and forth through the window. And I was like, wait a minute, that's a fucking helicopter. Like, there's a fucking helicopter shining lights through my window. So I went up to the window and I look up. And yeah, it was a police chopper shining light in the hills, like through the window. And I thought that someone maybe like ran away after committing some crime or some shit and then ran up in the hills where we were staying and they were just looking for him. So I wasn't too worried at first. But then I realized another fucking police chopper was going over our house, looking in our yard and our windows and shit. Because when I went upstairs, I asked my homie what was going on. And he was like, yo, do you hear that? Like, there's something going on outside. And I looked out front. There was one out front shining the light at the front. And then one in back shining the light, like in the back and at our house and the house next to us. So I was like, all right, great. We're getting swatted. And not just swatted in my hometown, but in LA, where the fucking police force is huge. So I was freaking the fuck out, right? So I ran downstairs to the living room and I looked out the big window in the front, and there's like 3 or 4 police SUVs blocking off our street. And I noticed there was an officer standing in front of the police SUVs, just kind of looking around, standing still in the middle of the street, making sure, you know, no one's doing anything. And he sees me looking through the living room window at him, and we make eye contact. And I freak out because I still think that they're there for me. So I put my hands up, right, and I start walking down the stairs. And the living room window at our Airbnb house was fucking giant. So, like, anyone from the street could just look at our house and see into the living room because it was such a big window. And he saw me coming down the stairs with my hands up, just looking at me, giving me the weirdest look. Like, just like the look of, you're a dumbass, you fucking moron. So I go downstairs, open the front door, still have my hands up, right? And I walk out into the street, and I notice that there's no cops in my driveway. Like, no cops at all. They were in the driveway next door. And the cop in the street wasn't even looking at me anymore. And I was like, am I fucking retarded? So I walk back inside, I go upstairs, and I yell at my friend, I'm like, yo, come outside with me, I'm scared. I can't tell whether we're getting swatted or not. And he's like, okay. So he goes out first. I slowly follow behind him because I'm a little pussy. And we go to the driveway next door where a majority of the police are standing. And, you know, the helicopters are loud as fuck. They're still above the house and the house next door. And I ask them, I'm like, hey, what's going on, officers? And they're just like, an alarm went off. And I was like, oh, for this house? And they're like, yeah. So I'm like, oh, shit. So immediately I'm relieved, right? Because we didn't get swatted. It was the house next door and some alarm went off or some shit. But yeah, it had nothing to do with us. It was just our neighbors. Their alarm went off and they just sent a bunch of police over to their house. And they checked our yard, too, to make sure no one, like, ran into it. But anyway, it made me think, like, I want to fucking live in this area. Like, goddamn, if my alarm went off at my house back in New York, no one would even fucking show up probably. They'd probably send, like, one cop. But, like, for them, they sent a bunch of people. Like, that's fucking protection right there. But that was basically it. That's, like, two little stories that happened pretty recently. And I thought they were pretty crazy and just interesting. So I hope you guys enjoyed them. Leave a like if you guys did. And yeah, guys, I'll see you all tomorrow. Peace.